You know, ladies and gentlemen, we've lost a lot of great musicians and producers and creators in 2024, but some bad news came across the doorstep in the last couple of days. This was something that the media missed on Christmas Eve, but I can tell you when I was a kid growing up, I really appreciated his hard work with all these great artists we're going to talk about he worked with. And when Richard Perry did something back in the day, it drew a lot of attention. This American record producer had begun as a performer in his adolescence while attending Poly Prep, his high school in Brooklyn. After graduating from college, he rose through the late 60s and early 70s to become a successful and popular record producer with more than 12 gold records to his credit by the start of the 80s. From 78 to 83, he ran his own record label, Planet Records, which scored a string of hits with the main act on the roster, pop R&B country group The Pointer Sisters. After Planet sailed to RCA, he continued his work in the music industry as an independent producer. With hit records stretching from the 60s through the 2000s, his successful modern releases including albums by Ringo Starr, Rod Stewart, and Carly Simon. Now, the native of New York, started his career as a producer in 1963. He came to his interest in rock music at a young age. Perry, who had Jewish background, was very involved in the music from an early age. He had three younger brothers. His brother, Fred Perry, helped work as a promoter at Planet Records in the late 80s. Their parents sold and manufactured musical instruments and also served as musical teachers. Perry was classically trained on piano, guitar, drums, bass, and oboe. In 55, at the age of 12, he attended the first of Alan Freed's live rock shows at the Paramount Theater. He began his career in rock music as a local performer during his adolescence. When he attended Brooklyn's Poly Prep Country Day School, where he sang bass as a member of the doo-wop group formed with three other students as the Legends. After graduating in 1960, the group was signed to Coral Records and subsequently renamed the Escorts, recording 7 singles between 62 and 63. When he attended the University of Michigan, 64 grad, he shifted briefly into songwriting and acting while working at Kamasutra Records in his marketing division, collaborating with Kenny Vance. Perry was launched on his career as a producer with early projects including Captain Beefheart's debut Safe as Milk and Fats Domino, Fats is Back. In 67, he moved to LA and in 68 produced God Bless Tiny Tim, the debut album of Reprise record artist Tiny Tim. The album was Perry's first charting hit, reached number 7 on Billboard's magazine's Pop Albums chart. Now, doing such great work with Tiny Tim, this is where it exploded for him. He was well established as a producer by the dawn of the 1970s. His credits during the subsequent decade include albums by Harry Nilsson, Nielsen Schmielsen and Son of Schmielsen, Barbra Streisand, Stony End, Barbara Jones Streisand, Live Concert at the Forum, Carly Simon, No Secrets, Hotcakes and Playing Possum, Art Garfunkel, Breakaway, Diana Ross, Baby It's Me, Martha Reeves, Manhattan Transfer, Coming Out, Leo Sayer, and Ellie Williams, Solitaire. But his most well-known project was the work he did with Ringo Starr on the album Ringo by the Ring One himself. The album featured work by 3 other Beatles and reached number 2 on the pop charts. And, of course, the Photograph and the other key singles was on it. Another high point was his work with Fanny. Perry produced the group's first 3 albums, Fanny 1970, Charity Ball, which featured a top 40 title track, and Fanny Hill in 72. Now, according to AllMusic's Bruce Eder, the 70s found Perry the most renowned producer in the field of popular music, bigger for some people than Quincy Jones. Eder goes on to indicate that his mere involvement with a recording project was enough to engender a mention in music trade papers and even the popular music press, and the array of gold and platinum selling albums with which he was associated made his name synonymous with success. As early as 1973, Village Voice said of Perry that the rungs on the ladder of success seem so much closer together when Perry is your guide. Now in 78, he launched his own label, Planet Records, which he ran for 6 years until being purchased by RCA in 83, by which point Perry had produced throughout his career at least 15 gold records, 4 of which had gone platinum, and a dozen gold singles. Perry had achieved these figures by February 2nd, 82. Among the label's roster during his tenure were acts such as Billy Thermal, Bates Motel, the Plimsolls, the Cretones, Bill Medley, Sue Sad and the Next, and the Pointer Sisters, whose charting album Energy was the label's debut. After leaving Planet, He continued producing some of its acts, including the Pointer Sisters, as well as producing efforts by such artists as Streisand, Donna Summer, Julio Iglesias, Neil Diamond, and Randy Travis. While pursuing this project, he spent a larger part of the 80s also pulling together passion projects. 89's Rock, Rhythm, and Blues, which featured contemporary artists like Elton John, Rick James, and Chaka Khan, performing classic songs by musicians of the 50s and early 60s. Also in 78, Perry played the part of a record producer in the film American Hot Wax, which was based on the life of disc jockey Alan Freed. Now, in the 1990s and 2000s, he worked with Ray Charles on 93's My World, which was a minor chart success, reached number 145 on Billboard 200. He's credited with helping craft Rod Stewart's charting pop standards album, The Great American Songbook Series, including It Had to Be You, The Great American Songbook. Perry would go on to co-produce the first 3 records in the series. Now, in 2004, he reunited with Carly Simon. The resultant collaboration was 2005's Moonlight Serenade, which reached number 7 on the Billboard 200, and it was also a top internet download. In 2006, he re-entered the studio with another previous collaborator, Art Garfunkel, receiving both producer and singing credits on 2007's Some Enchanting Evening. The last credit on the discography page on his website is from 2011 for producing the cast recording of the Broadway production of Baby It's You. Now, Perry was married to actress Rebecca Broussard from 87 to 88. They had no children together. Now, Perry and Jane Fonda were in a relationship from 2009 to 2017. Now, Perry died in a hospital in L.A. on Christmas Eve from cardiac arrest at the age of 82. At the time of his passing, he also had Parkinson's. So, ladies and gentlemen, what a career in music. And if you want to find out more about his career, the Beatles 2.0 fax book is quite interesting. You can talk about his work with Ringo and working with all those different type of artists. He was sort of like a pop guru, but he always worked with the best. And the idea going from Tiny Tim to Barbra Streisand to Ringo within so many years, he could work with anybody. Now, the idea about Richard Perry, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, just like George Martin, the people behind the scenes would always say Richard Perry is probably one of the most important people throughout the years for being a producer that would reflect like the best of the 70s and 80s. But again, his work with Ringo Starr, it made it so much better. It put Ringo into focus. George Martin didn't really understand the popularity of Ringo Starr with the musical public, but Richard Perry put enough into that album that made Ringo pretty well the number one Beatle after the breakup. And that's not joking, because everybody agreed that Ringo needed a good producer. And for that alone, Richard Perry is a Hall of Fame producer, ladies and gentlemen. Sort of like the poor man's David Foster, if you know who David Foster is. So that's the story of the great Richard Perry. He passed away at age 82. If you like what we're doing here with our musical tributes to artists and producers and creators through the years, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share.